I created a cult of fishmen to improve society by Reggie. Conquest of Elysium 5, which is a game made by some actually insane people. During one of the previous streams, I checked out their website and it looks unhinged. Like, it looks so old, like pre-modern internet old. Holy. And yeah, let's get into it. I showed the website for the YouTube video. I will go onto the website if Reggie doesn't show it in his review. I will go onto it after we watch this. Sorry.
Conquest of Elysium 5 is the gaming equivalent of taking a handful of unlabeled medications. You never know what's going to happen, but it usually ends with you staggering into a coal mine and strangling the life out of a helpless dwarf. That is all to say, it's one of my favorite games. You play as one of dozens of factions, ranging from a clinically insane necromancer to a Roman emperor commanding thousands of soldiers. The goal is to establish cultural and societal supremacy over everyone who is unlucky enough not to pick the same race as you. Because when I play as the Monkey Maharaj, the mere existence of a non-banana based economy is enough to make me do terrible, terrible things. To best demonstrate this, we're going to be playing as the High Cultist, a Lovecraftian faction which uses human sacrifice to summon deep-sea monstrosities. But before we do that, I have to tell you something. Between 1978 and 1995, I was mailing a lot of packages to universities and airports. But you know what I wish I was doing instead of that? Playing Terrasland, the sponsor of today's video. Terrasland is a new MMORPG available on PC and also on mobile, which I appreciate greatly because I was once kidnapped, hogtied, and stuffed.
Man, this is again I have never fucking heard about. Holy. Same goblin energy, oh yes. Oh yeah. Reggie and Seth are birds of a feather.
In the trunk of a sedan, but luckily I was able to wiggle my phone out of my pocket so I could spend my last 4% battery life farming the merfolk swamps for copper. But it gets even better because Terrasland is introducing a legendary dungeon tournament where you can form a team with your friends and compete against others for excellent rewards. The classes are diverse. The very concept of warrior exists on a spectrum because there are 3 warrior archetypes, each with 2 specializations, all of which can be augmented by one of 5 professions. The customization is so good that there's even a bard build dedicated to completing endgame content by yourself, which has allowed me to finally reify my antisocial personality disorder. However, that's beside the point, because the world before—
I'm just gonna guess this game isn't very fucking good. Could be wrong on that, Chief, you know.
For us is vast and beautiful. It features several puzzles, unique combat mechanics, and challenging raid bosses, such as the Blight Dragon, who will not hesitate to—
I will say this, looks more like a video game than the fucking Raid Shadow Legend does, you know. I'm at the point where I'm happy enough to let some games pass me by. If I can't play it on my own time and have fun, I will usually let it go. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, if something doesn't fly onto your radar, it usually means it's not your type of game. This, for example, I don't play much MMOs, you know. But maybe somebody who plays a lot of MMOs like played this to check it out.
Destroy you. But you don't have to go alone, because Terrasland's cross-platform data sharing means you can play with your friends anytime and anywhere. So go ahead and use the link in the pinned comment, or scan my QR code to download Terrasland and join the fun today. Now, back to the video. So I added a total of 11 enemy factions for us to compete against, and then started the game. This is objectively the most dangerous part of the campaign, because we start with only 1 city and a dozen soldiers, and it is not at all uncommon to lose the game on turn 1, after being invaded by a gang of territorially aggressive caribou. The wildlife of Elysium is so dominant, so predatory, that I had to go ahead and install a suicide prevention mod to ensure we don't lose 70% of the—
So this game takes place in Canada. Got it.
—players within the first 10 turns. I cannot express how profoundly disappointing it is for an enemy faction to be demolished on turn 1 by 3 carpenter ants, but it happens all the time. On the upside, we got pretty lucky because our main cultist has the spell Soul Slay. It's single target and does between 1 and 999 damage.
Now that's a lot of damage!
So when I'm adventuring—
I love gambling. I love gambling. I love gambling.
Through the jungle and get ambushed by a singular monkey, I can obliterate him for 119 times his maximum health. Our primary concern at this point is subjugating towns and small villages so they can provide us with this red resource known as ritual sacrifices. For my purposes, I focused on assimilating the tribal villages to the south, primarily because their defense budget is measured in Chuck E. Cheese fun tokens, which makes them an exceptionally easy target. But they weren't too happy about me cutting them open with a ritual dagger, and on more than one occasion I was ambushed by tribes of pygmies with poisonous blowguns. Oh, and they also attacked me with a herd of elephants. However, my cultist has an ability called Confuse, and after casting it 20 times, I made this elephant so profoundly demented that he experienced some kind of ego death and decided to change teams. Following this ultimate betrayal, I knew I had crushed the tribal spirit, and fortunately so, because the other factions had started appearing, such as a group of cave-dwelling involuntary celibates.
As a Canadian, yes. The AI is extremely aggressive. It fucking looks ravenous. It looks hungry for your blood and flesh, man.
It's known as the Pale Ones. I approached their leader with one of my diplomats, and he was quickly impaled for 200% of his max health. That was when I started to suspect some tension between our factions. At present, we stand no chance against our unshowered adversaries, but I've got a plan. You see, at the very south of the map, I found the Capitolium. It's a megacity comprised of 4 quadrants, one of which is the slums, an area absolutely infested with poor people, and I want to get those people off the streets and on to a sacrificial altar. So I started summoning an army.
Base. This is how you get rid of the homelessness problem, you know. All I'm saying is, if all the American politicians pledged their fucking loyalty to Cthulhu and started offering people up as sacrifices, maybe the housing market wouldn't be so shit, huh? Maybe cheese wouldn't be so fucking expensive, huh? If we did some little black magic. Some little human sacrifice, maybe some cannibalism. But the leaders of the free world don't want to consider these options that are there on the table. So annoying, man.
By muttering incomprehensible gibberish into the ocean.
I'll eat your ass. I will.
And eventually, these things showed up. They're called Yithians, and they're very powerful spellcasters. So I took them, put them in my army, and declared war on poverty. Naturally, poverty lost, mostly due to a Yithian spell which I don't know the name of, but have affectionately dubbed Laser Beam Shotgun War Crime. As you may imagine, it's very effective at dispersing homeless vagrants. By this point, we controlled half the Capitolium and had doubled our sacrificial income, which I immediately used to summon a Basalt Princess. Some people will call her a disgusting fish freak monster mutant abomination. But she's also really useful. Thanks to the amphibious trait, she can walk out into the ocean, which allows her to cast Call of the Deep. It summons a wide variety of deep-sea warriors, and after casting this 20 times, I had assembled the smelliest army known to man. I then leveraged this newfound strength to assault the rest of the Capitolium, starting with the Holy District. Here, I lost about half of my army to—
What a fucking unhinged game. This looks great. What would sacrificial altars look like after they are redesigned to be less friendly to the homeless? Oh man, that shit, you know, that shit would happen. If we had the monolith, you know, the obsidian slab made for the sole purpose of like imprisoning your soul if you die upon it. Homeless people would want to sleep on it, and some fucking stupid city official would be angry that he wants to sleep on it. That cycle will never be broken, no matter how many human sacrifices we make as a society, as a species. Some people will thirst for her regardless. I mean, you know, looks like a mummy to me. All I'm saying is consider the benefits, you know. Consider the benefits of all that moist, huh? You always gotta look for the bright side.
Some senile dickhead who was spamming level 3 white magic. Fortunately, we were able to use our void magic to bend his mind into submission, which solidified my monopoly on the shotgun war crime market. As a reward for taking the district, we were also given several powerful artifacts, one of which was a magical scroll. I had my cultist use it, and it teleported him straight to hell, where he was immediately attacked by demons and—
What the fuck is happening in this game right now? Jesus Christ.
burned alive. I wish I could say this was an uncommon occurrence in Elysium, but it's really not. Also, it's at this point I realized that I forgot to turn off stream notifications in OBS, because whenever someone subscribed to my Twitch account, the recording would be interrupted by this.
Guys, the penis pump actually works. It inflated my cock 4 times the size.
How lovely. By now, our sacrifice income is at 35, which is great. However, we're still losing territory to Blue, who is the demonologist, and also to Green, who is the troll king. But there's something neither of them know, which is that I've started saving up sacrifices to unlock a grand ritual titled Call Outer God. I don't know exactly what it does, but I'm willing to kill a lot of people to find out. Well, I say people, but really I just found the monkey Maharaj and beat the shit out of him until I had enough sacrifices. At which point I took my monkey Maharaj and beat the
What is that, a monkey with a sword right there? What the fuck is that? That's cool, man. I would play the monkeys. The monkeys have fucking bows and swords? That's based, man. Why wouldn't you play the monkey? The people thirsting for her are the same ones who designed the tabletop River Troll Hag for Warhammer Fantasy. You will have to look that up on your own time. Oh shit, is it that, like, is it actually not safe for work? Holy
shit out of him until I had enough sacrifices. At which point I took my basalt queen to a lake and began the ritual, which allowed me to summon something. A complex protein structure, or maybe a collection of marbles. I'm not really sure, but I do know he has the highest level void magic in the game. So obviously I had to find a victim to test this on, which was when I stumbled upon the Markgraf. He's basically just a gnome, which is basically a dwarf, which is literally not even human. So I felt he, of all people, deserved this. I besieged his castle and quickly realized our god has a trait which makes him immune to all physical damage. Also, he can teleport across the map, call in orbital ion beams, and cast Mind Vortex for a map-wide paralyzation. Following this singular battle, the Markgraf basically just gave up and left the game, and I don't blame him. I felt as though this unit, this god, was fundamentally broken on a gameplay level, so obviously—
Yeah, I was about to say, man, she's most definitely topless. Holy shit. Man, yeah, I was not expecting the big witchy. Man, now you guys got me curious and I can't look up that shit on stream. Oh well.
I wanted to abuse it as much as possible. I used God to enslave hundreds of illiterate tribesmen, which allowed me to summon even more gods, such as Hastur, the King in Yellow. As it turns out, Hastur is pretty powerful as well. In fact, I tried to summon a third god, but summoning in this game requires you to account for several things, ranging from the cultist's zodiac sign to the exact dilation of his anus at the moment of casting. And when I forgot to check whether Venus was in retrograde, this third god decided that he would like to kill me, only for Hastur to one-shot him on the first turn. Also, he can cast Strange Dimensions and Read the Stars to buff all of my units for an 87% chance to avoid physical damage. This near-physical invincibility led to a high cultist renaissance, because my immediate neighbors are a sect of cavemen and also some kind of monkey society, whose concept of magic is just weaponizing their own feces. So, I had no problem relegating them to the fossil record alongside the Markgraf. I did run into some slight complications when Francois the demonologist, God, I don't know how to say this, he killed God by lighting him on fire. But other than that,
I mean, you know, if, as the saying goes, if it bleeds.
Things were going great, and I was summoning dozens of fish warriors every single turn, which I promptly and violently rammed down Francois' throat, slowly crushing his demon empire one battle at a time. Honestly, we got pretty lucky killing the demonologist before he could summon anything too nasty. However, we weren't so fortunate with the necromancer, because I just ran into him and he already has a Tartarian spirit along with several soulless giants.
So I'm guessing like every faction has some busted shit like this. Because I was like, man, the cultists seem broken, but apparently everybody has some broken units.
Also, he has a 50-foot tall pyramid made out of human skulls, so take that how you will. Now, a better general, a more thoughtful tactician, or even a small child could have probably come up with a realistic plan to deal with this threat. But me, I just wanted to smash into it head first, and it didn't go very well, because because his Death Knights began spreading the bubonic plague among my army, which caused my units to slowly decompose every turn. However, this was honestly the preferable method of execution, because if you didn't die from this, you were being pulled apart by the talons of an undead hawk, or you'd get smoked in the face with a bolt of unlife, which instantly turns you into a zombie. The only magic trick we were consistently pulling off was summoning small angry puddles of water. This probably goes without saying, but we lost that battle pretty badly, and it might look like we inflicted a lot of damage, but after a battle, the necromancer can summon the dead bodies of all the combatants, and since this was a pretty big fight, he'll get a lot of units. The upside is that the necromancer has a mechanic called insanity. Turns out raising thousands of dead bodies and communing with Satan isn't exactly great for one's mental health. And the more he does this, the higher his insanity meter goes, meaning that sometimes his commander will just start shitting his pants and refusing to take any orders for months or even years at a time. For this reason, I recommend treating your necromancers like members of an Eskimo tribe, because when they outlive their usefulness, just wait until winter, take them to a frozen body of water, and leave them there. By springtime, the ice will melt and they'll die an honorable death of drowning in a river. Also, consider that your warning.
The fuck? I do like how this game lets you go everywhere and kill everything. It's a simple game, but an extremely fun one that has a ton of factions. Every faction absolutely has busted stuff. I will never forget meeting my first vampire who digested my entire army bit by bit. God damn, boy.
Because most units in this game can't swim, and if you're not careful, you'll be forced to watch in horror as your entire army of 300 soldiers drowns to death in 2 inches of water. Anyway, I had to do some rebuilding after this battle, and I didn't see the necromancer for a while, but what I did see was even more blood-curdling. It was none other than the subhuman menace known as the dwarves. I strongly dislike this faction, because when I gaze upon their stunted limb development, I can't help but feel as though they're a mockery of the human form. In fact, it's basically blackface for all of mankind. But
man, that image is like following me through different videos of different creators, huh? Holy shit. Man, that, I forget, is it like a prime minister or... But yeah, that Canadian guy really shouldn't have done this cosplay. Huh. Oh man.
But the thing I love about Conquest of Elysium is that it establishes canonically that dwarves are literally insects, freakish bugmen that emerge from subterranean hatcheries. Say what you want about the idea of a short, naked, wrinkly man wriggling his way out of an egg sac, but it is the only dwarven lore that I'm willing to accept. I knew it was my moral responsibility to genocide the dwarves, but with my main army decimated by an insane man in adult diapers, I had to get fairly creative. So I summoned some unique units called Starspawn. Please believe me when I tell you that much like women, these units exist solely to increase the global suffering index. Where a normal cultist could spend 50 sacrifices to summon a sea monster into your stack, a Starspawn can spend 10 sacrifices to summon a void demon into the enemy stack. But before you get jealous, I want to remind you that void demons are absolute bastards. They'll kill anyone, even us, and furthermore, the accuracy of this spell is atrocious. So when I
I hate that video so much, man. I'm gonna go grab myself something to drink because it's getting quite hot. Justin Trudeau, Canada's current... Yeah, Prime Minister is what I was thinking about, but I wasn't sure if he's a PM or something else. Bless that photo. It gives me life every time I see it. Honestly, that photo is still not as bad as when he had a great deal of the parliament brought in and applauded a literal Nazi who has introduced us. He fought Russia in World War II. Holy fuck, I have like a slight recollection that that happened, but I didn't know it was Trudeau. God damn. Like, it's funny that Trudeau consistently like does... like some strange stuff comes up on him, and granted that's better than him doing like actual crime or whatever the fuck UK government does, but like it's so weird that there's consistent yikes moments with him. It's so funny. Like I said, could be worse, you know.
Summon a demon in a dwarven settlement, there is a non-zero chance of me accidentally conjuring a giant carnivorous worm on any random person within a 3-mile radius. But remember, there's no such thing as innocent bystanders, only potential enemies. Luckily, the ritual has infinite range, which allows us to mitigate the risk of killing ourselves by simply using a clairvoyance spell to locate distant enemy settlements, and then abusing our same-day delivery to bombard them with abominations from beyond the stars. Using this technique, I gradually
Man, something about long-range bombardment comprised of horrors beyond human comprehension is kind of funny and very disturbing.
converted the dwarf starting area into a military exclusion zone teeming with Lovecraftian horrors.
Okay, that fucking image is hilarious.
With my civic duty now taken care of, I had to begin preparing for round 2 with the necromancer. To do this, I'd need more sacrifices, and I was prepared to find them wherever I could. For example, I used the shovel of the Mole King to burrow underground and kidnap several Neanderthals. I also teleported back to Hell in an attempt to recycle my previous sacrifices. This was met with very limited success. After this, we went to the Void Realm. That was also a mistake. Before finally using a magic beanstalk to ascend into the heavens and subjugate entire races of cloud-based organisms.
Fuck is this? This game is like a very bad acid trip.
The cumulative benefits of us conquering heaven, hell, and some rock-eating savages had allowed me to rebuild my armies and continue my jihad against the elderly. I fanned out across the
Man, Reggie really has something out against Canada. To be fair, he specified Quebec, and I don't think like Canada considers Quebec to be part of their country, so...
Necromancer's territory looking for his main stack, and oh boy, I found it. Some of my scouts ran into him, at which point I realized he had taken all of the dead bodies from the previous battle and sewn them together into one giant flesh ball. In addition to being able to fist us to death, this hulking abomination can also cast Incorporate to consume 3 units at a time, assimilating them into its biomass and permanently gaining maximum health. This scales indefinitely, meaning that if I don't kill him soon, there's going to be an unstoppable fisting machine wearing out my asshole like he's some kind of chiropractologist. By the time I tracked him down with my main army, he had not 1 but 2 of these freakish monstrosities, and they had increased their max health from 131 to 243. Also, the necromancer himself had undergone a ritual to transform into a vampire lord, which made him a far more intimidating presence compared to his previous form as an old man covered in his own feces.
I was going to put
But on our side of the
just the most common President Biden footage. This game has a lot in it. Oh yeah, I can fucking see that. Just the biome diversity is fucking insane. As in, like, different... not even biome, but like different places that are not necessarily connected to each other. God damn.
field, I had, I don't know, 8 different gods, so I'd say we've got a pretty good shot. The battle began with both sides casting AoE magic. However, my units are so bricked up with magic resistance that trying to damage them with spells is about as effective as trying to fill out your tax return using the spare letters from a can of Alpha-Getty, which is to say it's not going to work and you're going to feel terribly silly for trying while I beat you with a belt as punishment. Accordingly, we quickly thinned out the enemy ranks, at which point my eldritch abominations took turns smacking his arts and crafts projects for upwards of 100 damage each turn. It wasn't long before the necromancer was the only one left. With a massive chest wound and both of his eyeballs ripped from their sockets, he lasted about 12 seconds before succumbing to tentacle-related injuries. Avenging my loss to the necromancer awarded me with about 1 million magical items as well as a surprisingly quick erection. Very nice. Now, you'd think having both of your eyes torn from your skull and your body crushed by a large phallus would probably be the end of you, and you'd be right in most cases, but the necromancer had established a phylactery, which allows his body to reform once a month. So I spent the next 8 months ripping him limb from limb until I had finally found the phylactery and destroyed it, thus eliminating his faction permanently. With our geriatric friend now decomposing in a rain gutter, his empire was ripe for the taking, and take we did, but it wasn't enough.
Okay, but I don't know why Reggie went on this weird tangent about his daily life. I thought we're gonna talk about Conquest of Elysium or whatever it's called. Reggie didn't show it, but there's also like 5 different time periods you can play in. That's fucking interesting. As in, like, what? Kind of like Civilization, where it's ancient times, you know, medieval, something more closer to modernity? Least horrific 40k atrocity. Kind of true.
Because just like how a furry inflationist feels a deep physiological need to pump himself until his distended gut resembles a hot air balloon,
again, can we talk about the game, Reggie?
I too feel the need to expand. So I pushed even further, eliminating some minor players such as the Baron, who up to this point had spent the entire game hiding in his castle. After about 20 turns of this, I controlled almost the entire map, apart from the northwestern quadrant, which was still governed by the Troll King. His armies are notoriously deceptive, because when you look at them, you'll see about a dozen random ogres and trolls, but when you go to fight them, you'll quickly realize there was over 100 goblins camouflaged into the tall grass, and now you're fucked. Not only that, but the trolls have the very forest itself on.
But like, the fuck is a little goblin gonna do when equal of the deep comes at him with fucking mind-frying magic, you know? As in, you just came to the world, you're establishing first civilizations, the first calamity happens, you're trying to reclaim the world from horrors, and when you finally make a lasting civilization. That's really cool, like, different scenarios to play in. That sounds fucking interesting.
On their side, because they go around planting physically aggressive fungus as well as violent shrubbery. By itself, this isn't a big deal, but much like shoving fistfuls of marbles up your nose, the attrition will slowly start
up your nose. Okay, I was
to wear you down. Eventually, I tracked down their main army hiding in the forest doing tribal dances and eating mud. This behavior is indicative of the top 1% IQ in troll society. I wasted no time ramming my doom stack into his. No lubrication. He had a lindworm, several trolls, ogres, and a few hundred goblins, which I quickly turned to ash on the very first turn.
Yeah,
you
like
could
I
say
said,
the fight wasn't going very well for him. About the only thing he was doing right was using his shaman to summon dozens of toads in my back line. Don't worry, the toads are relatively harmless. However, in attempting to kill them, I friendly fired about 50 of my own soldiers. But after mopping my guys off the floor, we smacked the troll shaman with a fat, girthy tentacle and called it a day. With his main army defeated, I had no problem running through his territory and destroying everything else. At the end of the day, the anatomy of 100 goblins is just no match for the sledgehammer that is an eldritch abomination, and after 10 turns, his faction went extinct, thus yielding the entire campaign map under our control. This is usually where a victory screen appears, but for some reason, I didn't get one. I wandered around for a few turns before realizing someone is still alive, and they're hiding from me. Now, there are several planes of existence in Elysium, such as Hell and the Void, but if they were hiding there, they'd probably already be dead. So I began using a magic shovel to tunnel underground and search for them, and that's when I came across this, a fledgling Pale One outpost, where several troglodytes have barricaded themselves underground in an effort to survive my expansionism, but all must be assimilated, and assimilated they were. With the Pale Ones now officially defeated, we're given a victory screen and directed to the score graphs, where we are invited to generously fillet ourselves over just how excellent our empire was. You can see the only faction that was even close to us was the trolls, and well, they're still like half.
The trolls weren't. What the fuck does the game mean, the trolls? They weren't even like that much of a threat to him.
Where we are invited to generously fillet ourselves over just how excellent our empire was. You can see the only faction that was even close to us was the trolls, and well, they're still like half our strength. So that does it for this video. We've used human sacrifice and about 12 pixels to subjugate the world and usher in the age of fish people. I want to thank this month's patrons for supporting the channel, and finally, thank you for watching.
Based. Goblins don't do much unless there's 300 of them. The trolls weren't afraid because he had like 6 gods. Yeah, but I mean, the scoreboard doesn't like line up, in my opinion, because the vampire dude was so much more of a threat to him. and I didn't see like any bump unless it was like in that smaller part of the graph. He didn't show the website, been a bit since I saw the video, but I was hoping. Yeah, wait a second, we're gonna rectify that real quick. So yeah, dear viewer, if you are interested in buying this very weird but really cool video game, I suggest you go to the illwinter.com website, which is the official website of the devs of this game, which looks like this. Listen, they might be Illwinter game design, but they are definitely not fucking Illwinter graphics design. Oh man, I love this website. Holy. And I think if you click Conquest of Elysium 5, okay, it doesn't bring you to Steam. No, but it does here, right? Yeah, this game can be bought on Steam. There is also a forum. Oh, they have manuals. That's cool. System requirements. A monitor, graphics card, 10 megabytes of RAM at least. Man, this game looks so fucking funny. Oh, they don't even have fucking galleries for the images. If you click an image, it brings you to a separate separate link with that image. Oh my fucking god, that's hilarious. Oh, I love this website. What is this on the left? Why is that there? I thought that's something you can click. There's just like a random enemy or something to the left. Oh man, I really like this website. It stands out so much. Yeah, Conquest of Elysium 5 on Steam. Very positive reviews, you know. 30 euros, holy. Probably can get it on sale or something. But to be fair, that's not terrible for a game this unique, first of all, and big, second of all. Also, yeah, online PvP, online co-op, and there's remote play together. That's extremely based, man. I fucking love games that support remote play together. Holy. I highly recommend reading the manual. The game has a small learning curve and it helps. They even joke about the deer killing the player in the trailer. It was on sale last week for 50% off. 50% off, that would be 14 euros for a game like this. Perfect. Like, with a fucking remote play, that's value, man. You can just invite your friends who don't own, for those of you who don't know how Steam Remote Play works, you can just, through Steam, invite your friends who don't own the game and play hot seat with them, and it's fucking cool. Or a split screen, obviously, at the same time. So yeah, that was I Created a Cult of Fishmen to Improve Society by Reggie, and very interesting look at a very, very interesting game, which, man, games like these are few and far between nowadays, so I am glad that there are devs out there like this. I don't know if it's like a whole group or a single developer type of situation, but I'm glad devs like these are out there and they give like this niche, like games that are kind of niche like this to players who really want them.